And the reason that they didn't look great against Buffalo is because they got their face ran through. So when I look at the Cowboys, I came away from this game with the Dolphins actually feeling better about the Cowboys. And the reason is this Cowboys team can win a Super Bowl if they simply change their mindset, right? In points per game, they're 5th in the league. They're 7th in sacks. They're 5th in pass yards given up per game. But stats are like bikinis, guys. They show you a lot, but they don't show you everything. And for the Cowboys, it's more about their mindset, their want to. It's about guts. So when I look at Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence and all these talented guys that they have on the back end with Stephon Gilmore and Deron Bland, they have to make a decision that when the play is going to be made, we are going to make it. We're not going to allow teams to come and bully us at the line of scrimmage, and we're going to earn the right to rush the passer by stopping the run. And we've seen these playoff teams, the 49ers, the Ravens, the Lions, they are great running teams. So the Cowboys have to change that mindset because they have the personnel and they have the scheme and they have the quarterback. So I do believe this Cowboys team can win a Super Bowl, but it all starts up top.
If you consider yourself a long-term Dallas Cowboys fan, then pretty much everything that RG3 just said here, you would probably agree with. Even though essentially he's calling the Dallas Cowboys soft, that's honestly what it looks like when the Cowboys play on the road. There's just such a difference between the two teams that we look at with the Dallas Cowboys, between when they play at home and when they play on the road. And you have to think it has to come down to a mentality thing. It's coaching with discipline and scheming. And it's just something about the mentality of the players, man. I feel like when you're being a road warrior, when you're supposed to be the type of team that can go in and take someone else's lunch, you have to be able to go into a game, put your hard hat on, and be the nastiest, smartest, and most disciplined players on the field to win a road game. And a lot of the times, we just don't see this from the Dallas Cowboys. Out of everything on this team, we have the quarterback, we have receivers, we have a really, really solid defense, a defense that's honestly good enough to take us to the promised land. Even with their shortcomings, at most, they're only allowing 22 points per game, even on the road. So we have a good defense, good quarterback, good weapons. Our running game needs some help. Our offensive line is one of the top flight offensive lines in the league, even with their deficiencies. So that's to let you know how the rest of the league's offensive lines look. But they have the skill positions, they have the players, they have the personnel. They're missing something. And I genuinely believe what they are missing is attitude.
I'm proud to be the head football coach for the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm excited to be the head football coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
He inherited a program in its darkest hour.
Are you part of this group? Yes, I am. Asthma, Mike. Let's get over there on that other field and have some asthma. Get out of here.
Losing is unacceptable. Unacceptable.
Get it up, Beast! Nice quickness, nice cut, DJ. Right.
When it comes to moving men, there is no one better than Coach Johnson.
Oh, Michael, two-hand. Don't be cute. Don't be pretty, be good.
There wasn't a minute that I was around him in the 2 years that I played for him that I and everyone on our football team didn't know who the head coach was.
And he looked me in the eye and he said, I have no doubt in my mind that we'll win here and we'll win big. Write it down.
What a ride it's been. Jimmy Johnson's taken his team from the absolute worst to the absolute best in 4 years. And Dallas, your Cowboys are the champions.
2 in a row. How sweet it is.
We don't ever live our lives right down the middle. We're either here or we're there.
The only thing else I got to say is,
how about them Cowboys?
You see that? That's a man that you do not want to get on his bad side. That's a man that you don't want to get called for a boneheaded roughing the punter penalty. That's a man that you don't want to get consistently called for holding every single week. That's a man that's going to be holding his players to a level of accountability where they're almost afraid to make a mistake. And I almost feel like that's the aspect that's missing on this Dallas Cowboys team, that's leading to a lack of discipline and a league leading, or one of the league leading amount of penalties being thrown on this team. The penalties, more than anything else, the penalties, I could argue if you take away all the penalties that are being thrown in these games and you let these games just be played straight up, the Cowboys would look a lot better in the games that they lost, and they would probably actually win some of said games that they lost. That's how disruptive the penalties and the lack of discipline has been for this specific Dallas Cowboys team. And I don't think that's something that you're looking at a specific player or you're pointing at one or two players and you're like, oh, see, they're the issue. No, this is a structural, organizational issue that we're seeing, and we just haven't had that Jimmy Johnson type of coach. Jerry Jones has had coaches that's going to be agreeable with him. He's had coaches that he feels comfortable interacting with, and he feels comfortable kind of throwing his weight and his authority around with, and that really didn't fly with Jimmy Johnson, and it honestly just wouldn't fly with most coaches that have the type of alpha mentality that you need to instill that nastiness, that discipline, that mean disposition into your team. Right now, a lot of the Cowboys players kind of come off as like consummate professionals. Obviously, Dak Prescott has been kind of spicy this year. He's speaking his mind. I kind of like the personality that we're starting to see out of Dak Prescott, but you don't really just see any goons on this team. You don't really see any dudes on this team that you genuinely feel like the other team just don't want to get into hand-to-hand combat with. They don't want to have to lock up with this person one-on-one 50 or however many times they have to do it on Sunday. There's not many players like that on this team. The nastiest player on this team is probably, DeMarcus Lawrence? I mean, and he's a great player. He's a really good player, and he's honestly been very underrated as a run stopper this year. But even that, it still kind of fits within the confines of this structured system, this structured organizational kind of vibe that the Cowboys have going right now. And I firmly believe that is the root of the issues that we're seeing with the Dallas Cowboys right now. The Cowboys right now are essentially two different teams depending on where they play. At home, they look really good. They're averaging 39.9 points per game. The opponents are only scoring 15.4 points per game. The offense is moving and they're staying on the field. They have 182 first downs. They have a 53.6% third down conversion rate and a 57.1% fourth down conversion rate. On the road, however, which is very, very interesting, they're 3-5 at home, they're 7-0. On the road, they dropped down 18 points, almost 19 points on the road offensively, and it drops down to 21.5 points per game. Now, I kind of alluded to why I think this is happening on the previous video earlier this week, but I think it has a lot to do with Dak Prescott not having as much control on the road at the line of scrimmage, especially with how loud the opposing stadiums are and everything like that. That communication and all the checks and stuff that he's doing at home, it's very difficult to do that stuff on the road, and that's why crowd volume is a factor in his games. That's why playing in stadiums like Seattle or the Green Bays or, these really, really loud stadiums, that's why they matter, because the crowd noise can impact how you play out the game, right? Especially when the quarterback is having to get his offense in and out of different adjustments and looks because he's playing against the play caller. Now, I had a very interesting football conversation with someone whose football IQ I very much so have a lot of trust in. And he pointed out something very, very simple and something that's very easy to overlook and something we need to pay more attention to when we're talking about how well this offense is operating and exactly what's going on the field is, guys, the play that the play caller called essentially ends once that quarterback gets to his drop. Once the quarterback starts to improvise and he's out the pocket and he's having to move and make plays with his leg, that wasn't drawn up as part of the play. That is stuff that the play caller should not be getting credit for. That's stuff that the players on the field, including the quarterback, the offensive linemen, and the receivers for being able to improvise with the quarterback. And that's why that chemistry and that synergy with the quarterback and receiver is so important, because of scramble drills like that. But the moment the quarterback moves out of that pocket, when he breaks that pocket, essentially that's a dead play. That's no longer within the scheme of what the play caller called. So I feel like we've actually been giving a lot of credit to Mike McCarthy for the things that we've been seeing, but honestly, we've been seeing it a lot of the times after different checks. We've been seeing it after Dak Prescott breaks the pocket and he's making plays with his legs, or he's just moving the pocket around so that way he's extending plays. When that is going on, that is no longer the play call. That is the player. However, I want to be very clear. I'm not saying that Mike McCarthy doesn't get any credit. He obviously has created an offense that Dak Prescott is comfortable in, and a lot of the times the right players are on the field so that these plays can be being made. But I'm just saying, plays that are made out of the rhythm of the actual play aren't necessarily about the play calling. It's about the players on the field playing above the play and being able to actually make a play. That's the difference between seeing Brock Purdy look the way he does when he's forced to be the playmaker and him looking the way he does when he can get to the top of his drop, and then all of a sudden he's just dropping dimes all over the field because he's playing within the rhythm of the play that's being called. But the Cowboys on the road, they're also a lot worse on defense. They're giving up a full touchdown more on the road than they are at home, giving up 22.3 points per game. What's even more telling to me is on the road, and remember, they have more games played on the road right now than they do at home. And on the road, they have 27 less first downs, and remember, a full game played more than they have on the home, so that number should be closer to what the home number is, but 27 more first downs converted at home versus on the road. They have a 42% third down conversion rate versus a 53% at home, and a 53% fourth down conversion rate versus 57%. Now, if they're going for it on fourth down more times than not, they're pretty consistent there. But the one big difference that we see with the Cowboys on the road versus at home, and this could have a lot to do with the productivity we see out the offense, is the Cowboys offense can't stay on the field. They can't stay on the field on the road. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I believe it's a combination of penalties because we've seen it happen multiple times where we get a big play and we get called back by Tyler Smith holding. We've seen that happen multiple times. We had a big play called back by a legal formation from Jake Ferguson last week. So we see big plays get called back all the time that could take points off the board. They could end drives, that could stall drives, get holdings that make it third and long, so it stalls out the drive. And the messed up part about the whole thing is you can't even look at these games and see a player specifically where you're like, oh yeah, that game is on him. The problem is they're losing these games in the trenches, which is the pure definition of toughness, grit, discipline, and every other dirty word you could think of in football. In some of those games, it's either Terrence Steele getting blown up, or Tyron Smith is not playing, and Chuma Edoga is just letting guys run through like it's the turnstile in the New York subways, or the entire team just looks disjointed. It's just penalties and weird stuff. And then you had the dark cloud of the whole Trayvon Diggs injury coming over the Arizona Cardinals game, and that just felt like it was a game that was ready for a setup. It's just the Cowboys have just been losing in nasty ways, and in just ways that don't represent a team that's disciplined and is going to be consistent to who they are regardless of the environment. The lack of first downs, the third down percentage, not converting and being able to sustain drives, that's toughness. That's the discipline. That's the toughness. That's the nastiness of being like, hey, I'm about to come punch you in the face. What are you going to do about it? Right now, I feel like other teams are approaching Dallas like, hey, I'm about to punch you in the face. What are you going to do about it? And Dallas isn't doing anything about it. Pretty much 50% of the time, we're pretty much getting a coin flip of what Dallas looks like on the road. Either they're getting blown out or it's a closely contested game that we still end up losing somehow. It's one way or the other, right? Then, if you take a deeper look into the numbers, you can actually see a more troubling story developing, and this is why I've been so focused on the running back position this year. Tony Pollard and Rico Dowdle are not giving you good production for running backs. They're just not. In fact, we're going to look at them juxtaposed to the opponents that we're going to have this week with the Detroit Lions and Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. And you can see the productivity for Tony Pollard and Rico just is not there. And the first thing I want to kind of look at here is we're going to look at the broken tackles, the rush attempts per broken tackle, and rushing yards after contact per rush, and rushing yards before contact per rushing attempt. So you can see Tony Pollard is at 2.1 rushing yards before contact. So that means before anybody touches him, Rico is about 2.2. So they got about 2 yards of clearance before anybody touches them usually when they're running the ball. They only have about a 1.9 and 1.7 respectively yak rate, meaning rushing yards after contact per rush. So less than 2 yards rushing after first contact. That means someone touches them, they're essentially on their way to the ground, because if you don't know, a yard is 3 feet. These players are about 6 feet. So he's essentially falling with the ball forward. So just imagine someone touches his leg and then he immediately falls with the ball forward. That's essentially what you're looking at when you see like a yak of like 1.9, 1.5, stuff like that. It's really the length of the player's body. And more times than not, if they just fall forward, that's going to give you that extra yardage after first contact. So if you just get hit and fight a little bit and just let yourself fall forward, you're going to be getting that amount of yards. That only amounts to about 6 feet, which is, again, the length of a player's body. But if we come over and look at the Detroit Lions, it looks a lot different. For one, the offensive line is giving them a lot more clearance, but David Montgomery to 2.4 yards before contact, Jahmyr Gibbs 3.1 yards before contact. Then we see the yak, David Montgomery 2.2, Jahmyr Gibbs 2.6. These guys are running a lot stronger. They're breaking through arm tackles. They're not falling to the ground as soon as they see a hole. They're not running into their offensive linemen's backs. That's what those numbers just show you. And the fact that these two combined have roughly about 35 broken tackles. David Montgomery breaks a tackle every 12 carries. Jahmyr Gibbs breaks a tackle every 8 carries. And again, as with everything, there's some nuance to this. It's football. There's a lot of layers to it. I couldn't possibly cover all the layers in one 15 to 20 minute video. But there's also a lot to do with scheme and how they're using the running backs. Are they using the zone running schemes that are actually working for Tony Pollard and the backs in this system, the lighter end running backs, the backs that can't get a little bit of oomph under their damn shoulder pads sometimes? Are they using these outside runs, tossing the ball to the outside so these lighter guys that are supposed to be speed backs can get to the outside instead of trying to forcibly run these dudes up the middle when they're not built like that? Tony Pollard's breaking a tackle every 14.6 carries. The dude's only getting like 14 and 15 carries per game, which means he's not even breaking a tackle per game, yo. He's not breaking a tackle per game. He has 15 broken tackles on the season. In all, our running backs only have about 18 broken tackles on the season compared to the Detroit Lions' 35 broken tackles on the season. Physicality. Physicality is what we're missing in this Dallas Cowboys team. We are truly missing that hammer, that running back that's going to run into the opposing defensive line over and over and over again. And it's going to hurt them to tackle him just as much as it's going to hurt to be tackled by the defensive lineman. We're missing that. We can't soften up the opposing defensive line. We can't run the ball. Our running backs are dropping to the ground almost immediately after they're being tackled. And you can see it. Rico Dowdle's only breaking a tackle every 26.7 carries. And Tony Pollard's at 14.6. And again, David Montgomery's at 12.2 and Jahmyr Gibbs is at 8.1. And these dudes are sharing a backfield together. Tony Pollard is essentially getting ran like he's the lead back. He's touching the ball 60% of the time, essentially 66% of the time. Tony Pollard has the ball. He's getting run like the lead back. And those are his numbers. That's as far as you need to look to really see where the Cowboys are struggling on the road. And this is something that's in December, January, February. You're going to have to run the ball and you're going to have to win on the road. That's the two things you're 100% going to have to do. And both of those things come down to a mentality, because you have to understand when you're running the ball over and over and over again, it's going to be a long, physical, painful game. Both of those things come down to mentality. And I honestly feel like that is the one thing this version of the Dallas Cowboys are missing, is the mentality to be great. The mentality to be that dominant team, to be that physical, the more physical team, be dedicated to being the more physical team. That is what the Dallas Cowboys are missing right now. Dan Quinn has our first round defensive tackle losing weight. We're too light in the ass. We're too light in the ass. Think about the most recent Super Bowl winning defenses. They had players playing in position, in their correct natural positions. They had size where they needed it. They had thumpers where they needed it. They had nasty players on that defense. The Kansas City Chiefs with Chris Jones. Big, huge defensive tackle that does his job very, very well. Nasty dispositions, going to punch you in the face. It's more physical than your offensive lineman is going to be more times than not. Aaron Donald, all those boys that was on that Rams defensive line. Think about this. I think that this is our biggest issue right now. It's not about the players. It's not about the personnel. It's not about any of that. It's about attitude, discipline, and mentality. There's no reason this team should be one of the most penalized teams in the league right now. No reason. But either way, you let me know what you think about this conversation down in the comments below. I thought this was an important conversation to have, and we're probably going to end up getting a double upload today, or probably some weekend uploads this weekend. But either way, appreciate you guys tuning in, man. Love you guys. Y'all know how he's in these videos. How the Cowboys. Take it away, Pastor.
Calling me, texting me, paging me, asking me, am I still them boys? Y'all usually check on me. Listen. I'm still them boys. Hey! Woo! Oh, shut up, my boy. Hey! I'm still them boys.